Okay, let's dive into this explainer by grounding the whole concept of financial independence, retire early, or FIRE in what it's genuinely all about. A lot of people hear the word retire and immediately picture themselves doing absolutely nothing on a beach by age 35. And hey, while that sounds amazing, the actual conversation we're pulling from today, which features insights from Rahul Jain and Wentwealth's Ajinkya Kulkarni, frames FIRE in a much more practical way. It's not just some escape hatch, it's a target score. Think of it kind of like a cricket match. Even the team batting in the first innings keeps a target score in mind to guide their entire strategy, right? It organizes your finances and gives your life real thrust. But before we get into the hardcore math of how to pull this off in exactly 10 years, we really need to understand the true why behind the movement.
There's this brilliant insight from the book 30 Lessons for Living that perfectly illustrates how achieving FIRE isn't actually about the money, it's about owning your own time. The author interviewed over 1,000 Americans who'd crossed the age of 65, and looking back on their entire lives, one of their absolute biggest regrets was not spending enough time with their kids during those prime years. It's such a powerful realization. When you hit your FIRE target, what you're essentially doing is buying your time back. You get to spend the rest of your life strictly on your own terms, whether that's moving to the mountains, starting a passion project, or just being fully present with your family. Time is exactly what we're aiming to buy here.
Section 1, the 10-year math framework. Let's look at exactly how to build this blueprint for financial freedom in just a single decade, using a highly structured, math-driven formula.
So, say you're sitting there right now, totally regardless of your age, and you decide you want to be completely financially independent a decade from today. How do we actually engineer that? Well, the crucial first step is to pick your target score. For our example today, we're going to use 4 crores. Now, you could apply this exact same framework to 8 crores, 16 crores, or whatever number fits your specific lifestyle. But for the sake of really clear, actionable math, we're locking in on 4 crores as our 10-year finish line.
What's really fascinating here is how Rahul breaks this down into a brilliant 4-step formula to reach that target in a single decade. We're taking that massive, super intimidating number and chopping it down into bite-sized, actionable mechanics. It requires a starting corpus, a specific compounding rate, a calculated monthly systematic investment plan, or SIP, and an annual step-up. Let's walk through exactly how this splits your journey perfectly in half.
Here's how we tackle the first 50% of your goal. Step 1 is pretty straightforward. Take your target of 4 crores and simply divide it by 8. That gives you 50 lakhs. This is the lump sum you need to have saved up today as your starting corpus. Step 2 is putting that money to work. You invest this starting corpus into an asset that compounds at roughly 14% annually. Why 14%? Because at that specific compound annual growth rate, your money magically doubles every 5 years. So, in the first 5 years, your 50 lakhs becomes 1 crore. In the next 5 years, that 1 crore turns into 2 crores. Just like that, simply by having 1/8 of your target saved today and letting it sit, you've conquered half the mountain.
So, what about the remaining 50%? To get there, you calculate your monthly SIP by taking that initial 50 lakh starting corpus and dividing it by 100. That gives you exactly 50,000 rupees. You need to invest this 50,000 rupees every single month from your income. But of course, inflation is a thing, and your salary is likely to grow over a decade, right? So you apply the final step. You top up that monthly investment by 10% every single year. If you maintain this disciplined, stepped-up SIP for 10 years, and it generates around a 16% CAGR, it will mathematically build the remaining 2 crores. Add that to your first 2 crores, and boom, you've hit your 4 crore target.
Section 2, the urban reality check. Let's hit the brakes for a second, because executing this math in the real world exposes a pretty massive friction point.
Having 50 lakhs just sitting there ready to go as a starting corpus, that is incredibly daunting. It can put immense financial stress on people dealing with high urban living expenses. I mean, if you're 30 years old, living in a metro city with rent, lifestyle inflation, and daily costs going through the roof, having 1/8 of your total retirement goal already sitting in the bank is a luxury many of us simply do not have. So what happens if you're starting from zero? How on earth do you pull off a 10-year FIRE without that massive lump sum head start?
Well, if you're starting from zero, Ajinkya points out the aggressive alternative. You have to somehow manage to survive on just 20% of your total salary or your CTC. Think about that. If your salary stays flat at 30 lakhs, you'd have to figure out how to live your entire life on just 6 lakhs a year in a major city. That means you're literally saving a staggering 80% of your income. Good luck with that, right? The remaining 24 lakhs goes straight into compounding investments.
It's an extreme path for sure, and it highlights a fundamental truth. You either need a massive head start or you need unparalleled, almost ruthless discipline in your spending.
And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates why you shouldn't obsess over a single static FIRE number. Because as your life evolves, your financial needs and the wider economy are inevitably going to shift. When you're 25, a 1 BHK apartment seems totally fine. But by 35, you might be married, have kids, and suddenly you're eyeing a 3 BHK. The cost of education goes up, inflation won't stay stagnant, and stock market returns definitely aren't a guaranteed straight line. Your 4-core number might suddenly need to be 6 crores 15 years down the line.
While hitting that number gives you great motivation, mastering the process, earning more, spending less, getting proper insurance, and investing correctly is what actually gets the job done. Having a target is amazing for that initial spark, but if you don't save a single penny at the end of the month, what's the use of that clarity? The daily, unglamorous routine of upskilling to boost your salary, controlling your spending urges, securing health and term insurance, and building an emergency fund, that is the actual engine of financial independence.
Section 3, Smart Asset Allocation. Let's move on to see how this all builds into an actionable process called the bucket strategy for your investments.
Once your income, spending, and insurances are sorted out, you have to allocate your wealth properly. With dozens of mutual funds, gold, and crypto out there, it is so easy to get paralyzed. The trick here is mapping your assets to when you literally need to spend the cash. Here's the rule of thumb. If you don't need the money for over 10 years, like for a kid's future education or your actual retirement, put it in equity, like a Nifty 50 index fund. If you need it in 6 months to 3 years, corporate bonds are a fantastic fit. But if it's an emergency fund you might need tomorrow morning, stick to fixed deposits or a plain savings account where you aren't even worrying about the return rate. Time dictates the risk.
And here is a massive golden rule. Whether it's Bitcoin or US stocks, if you can't read the P&L statements, never invest in something you don't confidently understand. It's a beautifully simple filter. A lot of folks rush into foreign markets or obscure crypto assets purely out of FOMO. But if you don't actually understand how the accounting works for a US company compared to an Indian one, you're gambling. You're not investing. Always stick to what you know.
Ultimately, a balanced portfolio absolutely must have both market-linked assets for growth and fixed return assets for stability. Going 100% into equities exposes you to brutal market crashes right when you might need cash the most. But going 100% into FDs means inflation will quietly, invisibly eat your wealth away. You need the market-linked side to accelerate your wealth over the long haul, and that fixed return side to anchor you during turbulent times.
For that fixed return bucket, corporate bonds are looking super compelling right now. They offer 9 to 12% returns, and platforms are now providing extremely fast T+1 day liquidity. This means you can practically get your cash back the very next day. This is a massive step up from traditional fixed deposits. Corporate bonds used to be inaccessible or super illiquid for retail investors, but the whole landscape has changed. Now you can target those higher fixed returns, and if you suddenly need your money before the bond matures, the right platforms help you find a buyer online and get your funds practically overnight.
But you really got to check if a bond platform has skin in the game. Take When Wealth's approach, for example. They co-invest 2% of their own balance sheet into every single bond they list. Because their own money is literally on the line alongside yours, they run exhaustive fraud checks. It's not just a marketplace where they wash their hands the second after selling to you. This alignment of incentives has resulted in 0 delays or defaults for them in 4 years. If you test this out, just remember to start small and make your rookie mistakes when the stakes are low.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought on your 10-year journey to owning your time. The math of dividing your target by 8, compounding at 14%, and stepping up your SIPs absolutely proves that a single decade is all it takes to build substantial wealth. But math without execution is just fantasy, right? The reality demands either a large starting corpus or absolutely ruthless spending discipline, backed by a smart bucket strategy. Ultimately, the number might get you out of bed, but mastering the mundane daily process is what will actually buy your time back. So I'll ask you, are you going to spend the next decade obsessing over a shifting finish line, or are you going to start mastering the daily process of buying your life back today? Thanks for exploring this blueprint with me.